I think two things really. One, the central importance of the price of food. And we talked about, does anyone know what the price of a bottle of milk is? And I think this is increasingly important in ways that I think we'd forgotten in the UK, which is food costs a lot of money, and if you don't have a particularly high income, then food is taking up a bigger chunk of that income all the time. And attached to that is my realization as a journalist that if you're quite comfortably off, you aren't noticing the fact that food prices have gone up 30% in the last 5 years. So the price of food, I think, is becoming a real issue now in the UK in ways that it hasn't been for decades, possibly. The second point I think that came out very strongly tonight was the importance of education and schools, and prior to schools, early years education in Sure Start centres and so on. And I think that's in two ways. The first one is providing food to kids that need it. For whatever reason, we know that many children, for a variety of reasons, often to do with poverty, often to do with their parents not being able to provide breakfast, are going to school hungry. So I think there is a role, I think almost everyone in the room accepted there is a role for schools to provide food at breakfast time and at lunchtime. And how schools do that is going to be an interesting policy question. If we do go down that route, how do we make sure that when schools are off on holiday, what do we do then? Again, this sort of whole range of other questions stem from this. I think the other area of schooling that is important that came out of tonight is teaching pupils about food. I mean, at a very early age, teaching them what food is about, what it does, what it looks like, what it feels like, how to enjoy food socially, the importance of sitting around a table with your friends and family, using food as a social driver, really. And later on, as kids grow older, for them to learn to grow food and to learn to cook and prepare food. And I think that too is an incredibly important area of it. I always live in hope. I am naturally optimistic about this, but experience tells me that you can't just go for, sorry, we'll start again. Experience tells me that you can't just say it's all down to schools. These problems aren't going to be erased by schools. Schools will have an incredibly important role to play, but unless we tackle issues around economic justice, around living wage, around the fact that for so many people who had very little to start with, the current economic climate means they have even less. And I think that, yes, I am optimistic, but as I think I said during the dinner, life coaching isn't enough. So in other words, we need some form of economic justice too.